Hi there, welcome to QA Box Let's Test. This far in this series, we have been automating web applications using Cypress. Now, in this video, we are going to learn how can we do API testing using Cypress only. And for that, I have created this demo API application. So you can go to this GitHub repository, download the zip file, unzip it, follow these steps to bring it up. In this particular API, there are two endpoints. One is members, second one is file upload. In the members upload, you can do all these different operations, and the file upload, we are also going to upload a file in this video. This application uses basic authentication, and the username is equal to admin and password is also equal to admin. This application is already running onto my system, so this is the application. Okay, now I have opened Postman and set up all these endpoints. So let me quickly walk you through all these endpoints. So this is the first endpoint. You hit send button. You will see all the members available in this application. This is the file in which we have all these members. So when we post a new member will be added here. When we update the member, that respective member would get updated. And same way, we can also delete a member from this file. So you can also pass in query parameters like that. Currently, there are 3 members, 2 are male and 1 is female. So you want to filter out all the members who are male. So now you see only 2. Then you also have this path parameter. So you can fetch the respective member like this. Okay. So we covered query parameter, path parameter. Now the next one is post. Okay. So we are going to post this member. All right. And there are a lot of validations in place, like ID has to be generated by the system. When you try to do something like this, you get this message and it's a bad request 400. Right. So you do not need to provide the ID. Same way, if you provide in a gender test, it is not a valid gender. So you will also get that the valid value is male or female. All right. So you set, let's say, female in this case. Then on the name also, there are certain validations. So if you just say RE, so it accepts minimum 4 and maximum 25 characters. So you can also try, like you can pass in 5 spaces. It is still not going to accept. All right, it is going to ask you to enter valid characters. Same way, it is not going to accept numbers in here like that. It is telling you it only contains alphabet. All right, so let us bring it back to the valid data, which is this. When you hit send, all right, a new record is created. You can go back in here and check the new member is created. Then what else can you do? You can update this record. So we update it based on the ID and we are going to change it to Joe Roy and male. You hit send, you go back and you see the value is updated. Next is the delete operation. So you can now say, okay, I want to delete this record with ID 40 does not exist. Okay, same is the case implemented for put. If you want to update a record which does not exist, you get this message. You can delete a valid record. Now the record is deleted. You go back to the file and the record is no longer here. All right, fine. You can also do the file upload. All right, so when you do the file upload, in the body you have to pass in this key file and you have to add in the image. Now I'll show you a little code. So it is mandatory to use that name file because I'm reading it like that, and it's not like how I have constructed that. Whenever you upload a file, even from the application, all right, in the file type, input type is equal to file, there is also an attribute name which contains some value. So whatever value that is there, right, developers use that value. Okay, and in most of the cases you'll find that has to be file. So this is how developers read the file object from the request that you send to the server. All right, so that is the reason I've kept it to file in here. I click send. The moment I do that, you see the response is correct, and if you go back, this file upload folder is added and this new image is uploaded in here. In this API as well, there are a lot of validations being added. For example, only these extensions are allowed. File size should be less than 5 MB, and you cannot upload the duplicate file. If you try to do so, you see I'm storing the file after hashing it. Okay, so I'm storing the hash of the file. So this system is smart enough to recognize that you are uploading a duplicate file. All right, all set up. Now the next thing is, how can I accomplish the same in Cypress? Very simple. You just have to use cy.request. We use cy.request to make an HTTP request, and these are the different flavors available. If you do not pass in any method, by default it is considered as get. However, like I mentioned in the API that I am going to use, I have basic authentication in place. So which means that I need certainly more things than these two, all right, method, URL, and body. So I will always work with option. Another reason is I always work with this because it enhances the readability of our code. All right, very simple. Let's move on to the coding part. Now this is our code. So we say cy.request, and then we pass in this particular object like this. Okay, so this is my object. First one is URL. So you might be wondering, how would you remember all that? You don't need to do so. There's an intelligence, right? We enabled in one of the video, I guess part 3. So you just pass in this blank object first, and you say URL. So you get this intelligence. Okay. All right. Great. The thing is, in the cypress.json file, which is basically I've created a custom file in this case, cust API config.json. I have placed the base URL in there. All right. So now I only need to pass in the path variables. All right, so I have provided the remaining path in here. Method is of type get. Since we are using the basic authentication, so we just have to use auth, and we have to, auth is an object which contains username and password properties. So this is our username, this is a password. We just hit this request, and this is going to yield us the response object. It's an object, right? So object contains properties and methods. We use invoke in Cypress to invoke the methods on an object, and if we have to use its property, we go for its method. So we have one property called a status, and with the help of should, I'm checking that it is equal to 200. Okay, that is it. So now let me run this method. And one more thing before we move on. So I'm not going to emphasize on what actually you have to test in APIs. I'm just going to pick certain assertions randomly. All right. Having said that, I have created this playlist onto my channel. So this is the link to open the playlist of my channel, or you can just say QA box let's test. Click on this playlist, and then you will see these two things in here. All right, it is mandatory for you if you want to learn what to test into API testing. First start with this important API testing concepts, API testing 101. There are two videos in there. All right, you have to spend approximately 2 hours to understand the API testing concepts. Okay, so in here I have covered headers, I have covered different middlewares, I have covered JSON schema and everything, serialization, deserialization, whatnot. Okay, then I have created this full playlist on learning automation, API automation testing using Postman. In there also I have shown how to construct test cases. All right, great. So now we are pretty good. Let's start with our first test case. So I save this, and in here we have to select like this get. All right, so you see two things in here. This is number one. All right, so let us now open this in the console. So I click console, I click on this request. All right, so it has yielded us this response. This is the response object, which has got properties like body, duration, headers, and status. So now you know if you have to check any specific property, you just have to say its, and then status, its header, its duration, its body. All right, and then in the should you can write the respective assertion. All right, now this particular thing, right, it has come up for this second request. like this. And in here you see a difference. In here you see cy.request, but in here we have this API. And when you use this API, you can also see the response in here. You don't need to open your console. Now let's quickly see that how you can enable that. So for that, you have to open the Cypress plugins page. You have to find this particular link, open that in the GitHub, and you have to install this, right? I have installed this as a regular dependency in my project, and in support index.js you have to import this line, all right? And then if you want to use the intelligence, you have to use this. Now what is the difference, how these commands are different? And if you could see, there is actually no difference at all. So herein we are again doing the same, just that you replace the request with API, right? Pretty much the same. Okay, we executed this particular case. All right, now let me show you few more tests that you have to write and how you are going to construct them. First one is, the path parameter. So earlier we identified all the members, but if you want to identify the specific member, you just have to update the URL, right? No rocket science is involved, and pretty much rest of the things are pretty much the same. Now this is the thing with the API. So instead of cy.request, you say cy.api, and this is regarding the query parameter. So how can you add in the query parameter? So for that you use QS object. Okay, again, this is one of the option. You would see the intelligence, you type Q, you will see QS, and then in here you have to pass in the query parameters. All right, you can pass in more query parameters like this by adding more key and value pair. In our case, this particular API accepts only this particular query parameter. Okay, so now let us run this particular one. Okay, and the one with the path parameter, only these two. All right. All right, so both are passed. Okay, this one is, I guess, making use of request. If you just say API for this, now you will see the content for both of these, right? You just need to hover over them. First one is the request, second one is the response. So you see that clearly, all right? And with the query parameter, you see we have filtered the result set based on the gender male. So you see both the email, and then there are two assertions, because in the code we have used for each. In the assertion we said, okay, whatever response that we have got, for all the objects, check that their gender is male. Let me show you the code quickly. All right, like this: response dot body dot for each, and then we are writing this assertion like this. Pretty simple, right? Let's move on to the post. All right, so again, here also what you can do is either you can use cy.api, or you can use what, cy.request. So I'm going to skip the other examples now, right? So you know what is the benefit of using cy.api. You don't need to open console. All right, so now we are going to post a new record. Now the only thing that you have to add is body. Okay, like that. Method has to be changed to post. That is it. That's why I said, I prefer this option, because it makes things simpler for me, and also it enhances the readability, like I said earlier. All right, now when you post a record, the the status code is 201, right? So let me just run this like this. So in here we are going to post a new record, Tanisha Gulia, female, and then we are going to check what we are going to check in the response body. The key has to be this, right? These three keys should be present. Name should be equal to this, and the gender should be female. So let me quickly go to post and check that out. And also, like I said, in here we are going to see that new record, right? Yeah, you see that record has been added. Yeah, so you see all our assertions are also passed. Pretty simple, right? Then the next one is put. So what do we have to do in here? We just added a new id 4. Okay, so I'm going to update that. And same way you can write in all these different assertions. Okay, so I don't want to run any of the other test cases. You can refer that these test cases, they are already exported, right? So we are now going to update Tanisha Gulia to ND Ballard and gender from female to male. All right, so let me just run save this and go to the put test case. Same way we come in here, and let's wait for it to be updated, and then we'll move on to our test case. Okay, now you see this is updated. All right, so Our test case has been passed. Now next one is delete. So we go to delete, and again very simple, just change the method provide in the id. Okay, so the id was 4. Okay, now we want to delete that. Now just one more thing before we move on. So currently let us look at, so we have only 4 records in here. What if I want to find record number 5? Okay, so let me just execute this test case. Okay, and set it to 5, and just remove this line for a minute. Okay, just remove this much from here, save it, and just run my file. Okay, now you see this has been failed. Why so? Because you see this was considered as a failure because the status code was not in the 200 or 300 series. This is the thing. So cy.request always expect the response to be in either in 200 series, which is a successful series, or in the 300 series, which is a kind of redirect. Okay, now therefore it is important when you are testing for our test case is valid, right? So we want to check that the response code should be 404. All right, if I try to delete a record which does not exist, so I should get 404, then how are you going to test that? So in that case, you have to add that line in here. So you have to say, hey, don't fail my test case on status code not equal to either in 200 or 300 series. So now if you change that and run it again, okay, so you see 404 deeply equal 404. So our test case is now passed, right? Let's delete a valid member. Okay, so we say 4 is a valid member, right? And when we do so, the response has to be 200. Okay, now we don't require this line or this option anymore. We just save it, run it back. All right, so it's 200. We go back to the file, and that record is being deleted from here. All right, now the next thing is in API testing, we have to chain our commands. Chain in such a way that you create a record first, you then read the record, you update the record, and you delete the record. The only thing that you have to do is you have to create a file, you have to create a variable like this, right? Since test cases in Mocha are executed in sequential order, right? And the thing that we are going to do is, like I said, if you just have to test on one property, you are going to use its, right? If you have to test multiple property, you are going to use then, right? Because in then you can write in multiple expect statements. Okay, so in here all I'm doing is, because then is like when this is being resolved. Okay, then with the help of this then function, I'm going to set its value. Okay, like that. And then in the subsequent request, right, because in here I have to pass in this path parameter, right? Then for update also I need to pass in which particular member I want to update, and then I have to finally delete that member. This is how I can chain my request in Cypress. Pretty simple, right? So you see all my test cases are being passed. So if I now go back in here, so again we do not have any more record, right? We are still at the initial state, right? Now the next thing is file upload. Now it's important to understand the file upload first from here. So you see when we do the file upload using Postman, the type that we have to set in the body is form data. And if we go to the headers, right, and look at the headers in here, so let us look at the content type. All right, the content type is multipart form data. Okay, now the thing is in Cypress, unfortunately, we do not have any direct method which we can use, or maybe I'll say we do not have any option through which I can pass in that file. Okay, so I have to make use of XML HTTP request to make that happen. Okay, now this is the test case that I've created. Okay, and this is the function that I've created, form request. All right, and this function accepts this method URL form data and done basic. So the first thing is this, right? XML HTTP request. So we are creating this XML HTTP request object. The XML HTTP request object can be used to request data from a web server. All modern browsers have a built-in XML HTTP request object to request data from a server. In this case, we are going to make a request, right? Rather than using cy.request, we are going to send our request using this XML HTTP request object. Okay, and this particular approach would work in both UI mode as well as in the headless mode, right? So the next is we initialize our request by using this xhr.open, and in here we pass in the http method and the URL. Then the next is we set the request header. All right, so we have to pass in authorization, basic, and then this value. Okay, this is how it is being set up even in Postman. So if you go in here, right, authorization and basic is equal to this. So this is the key and this is the value. So base 64 encoding is nothing. It's like what you do is you say you find the base encoding of this string. So first one is your username, second one is your password, in between you have this colon, right, and then you find the base 64 of this particular string, which would be this particular value. Okay, this one. All right, so we are just setting the header in here. Then we have got these two properties, on load, on an error, and then these are the functions or events rather I would say that we have defined in here. So when we as onload defines that the request has been successful, and on error defines that the request has been failed. So what you want to do when a request is successful, you want to say, okay, hey, done, it's done. That represents it's done, it's successful. And then at the end, you just want to send the request like that. Okay, then we have created certain variables like file name. I have kept this file in my fixtures. Okay, then the method is of course post. This is the URL. Now this file type, right? So what is the file type of it? So basically when we say file type, we're saying that MIME type of this particular file. So for that you have to Google file MIME type and then select this MN page, and in here you will find all these MIME type. So in our case the image is what, IMG, JPG. So this is the MIME or file type, you can say. All right, so then we are going to make use of fixtures. All right, and we are going to read the binary version of it. Then we are going to convert that binary version into blob using this approach, and then we are going to create the form data object, which is very important. So form data basically is an interface which provides a way to easily construct a set of key value pairs representing form fields and their values, right? So whenever you send the multi-part form data, what is multi-part form data? You're sending text as well as you're sending images. All right, so basically, this interface provides a way to easily construct a set of key value pairs representing form fields and their values, which can then be easily sent using the XML HTTP request.send method, right? So we are creating this, and then we have got this form data.append method, right? So appends a new value onto an existing key inside a form data object, or adds the key if it does not already exist. So we are adding, right? What is this file? I mentioned in the code, right, in the beginning of this video. This is what developers are reading, right? So this is that name. All right, great. So yeah, we come in here, we say this file, then we are passing in the blob, we have to pass in the blob, right? And then we have to pass in the name of the file, right? Then we have to just invoke that method like this, and then we are going to use a callback inside that, and then we are going to simply write our assertions. That is it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is uh, let us go in there and delete this particular folder, right, just to test that everything works from Cypress as well. All right, great. So everything is deleted, we do not have any file uploads folder in here, and there is no image inside that. Great. So let me go to my file uploads code in here, right? This is the only thing that we have to do. Okay, the code is already there, you can take a copy of it from the GitHub. All right, so let us click on this file upload. All right, so here it would start. Let us go in there and wait for that folder to be created. Yeah, the folder is created now, and the image is also added. Okay, this is the image. All right, and we go to Cypress. All right, and in the fixture, this was the image .docjpg, and this is the same image. All right. Okay, so here also it is being passed. Let us try with one more image, and now this time we have another image, ye.jpg. So we just need to change in here. We say ye.jpg. I don't think we have to change anything else. Let us run that again. So test case execution has been started. All right, so all the sessions are being passed in here. Now we should see two images in there. Great. So that's a second image. Yay. Right. So yes, these are the things that I wanted to cover. It might be a long video, but worth watching. All right. And please go and check out these two playlists if you want to learn more about API testing. Right. I hope you like that. Thank you so much.